Thank you everyone so much for coming here tonight. I'm super, super excited to talk to you about communicating through staffing challenges, which is a fun topic that we've all had lots of challenges over the last few years. So let's get to it. So today we're going to be talking about, working with the current team that you have to identify new hires. So we're going to go into that a lot more and how to just make sure that we're utilizing our team to help to identify some of those potential team members, how to communicate with your patients and with your team about having a new provider and seeing a new provider in your practice, and solving some of your staffing challenges by utilizing your team. Our team always has the best ideas, right? So we want to make sure that we're asking them and asking for their input, and really making sure that we're utilizing them. And of course, hearing from all of you guys. So please make sure you chime in there. So wanted to share with you a little bit here. Here's some of the teams that we work with at Inspired Hygiene. And we are so, so fortunate to have amazing clients and amazing teams like some of you guys on the call today. And with that too, Driani and I specifically have a lot of experience in communicating staffing challenges with patients and with team members. So previously to working at Inspired Hygiene, I was director of operations of a DSO in New England with over 200 team members, over 17 locations, and it was, man, was it busy. And there was lots of changes, especially after COVID, right? Everyone had lots of changes then. But making sure that we were communicating through a lot of that. And I was fortunate to actually work with Driani there. So Driani was assistant director of operations, and a lot of communication regarding HR, regarding staffing, making sure that our patients were happy, that no corners were cut if we had staffing challenges in the office. So we're going to share some of those things and the experiences that we've had and the things that we've been able to share with Inspired Hygiene clients too. So super excited to do that with you guys today. Okay. So identifying new hires. There is a big mindset change here where, when we are looking to hire new team members is usually when we start placing ads. And usually by then it's too late because we need someone now, right? Especially if someone's going to give 2 weeks notice. We all know it takes a whole lot longer than that to find a good team member, right? To find good people. So really changing the mindset and making your team aware that we're always hiring, right? We are always looking for good people to join our team or join our team in the future if we don't have a space available now. You really want to make sure that your team is aware of this, because if you have an ad out, say, for an admin team member, but you don't have a position open in your office and someone on your team sees that, there can be a little bit of tension there, right? So just making sure that everyone on the team understands that you're always looking for good people. Things may come up, right? Someone on your team may have, a last minute change, an emergency in the family, or they have to relocate. So to have an idea of good people that are local to you, that you've already communicated with and you know that they have a potential of looking is really, really important. So always want to have that mindset of always be looking and always be hiring. You obviously want to hire amazing team members like the ones that you already have. Here's one of our clients here. They have so much fun, and they share that fun not only with their team, but with their patients. They share it on social media all the time, and just really show their positive culture. And people want to be like that, right? The same, it's right, like minds attract like minds. But also ask your team. Do they know anyone that's looking, right? Do they know anyone that's looking for a new position or a new dental home? I think, a lot of offices talk about incentives for new team members that come on board, right? They will have, a bonus for a team member that comes on board, an onboarding bonus. But a different way of looking at it is having a referral incentive for team that you already have in place, right? So incentivize the team members that you have. If they know someone that's looking to come on board, give them an incentive, right? Give them a bonus. And instead of giving them the whole bonus, we'll say, or the incentive at the beginning of that new team member's employment, you can also do a sign-on incentive and then a retention incentive. So for example, you could have an incentive when that new team member hits their 90 days and then hits a year, right? Because really you want someone that's going to stay there. So you don't want to just give them that incentive right when they come on board. So wanted to make sure that I mentioned that there too. It's a great thing just to offer your current team to incentivize that. The other thing in looking and identifying new team members is looking in your community, right? And figuring out what type of job are you looking for? Are you looking for a team member to be in person? So customer service jobs, obviously any clinical team member needs to be in person, but it could be someone as well that could be virtual, right? Maybe you're looking for someone to help with some of the administrative tasks in your office, and you could have the potential of that person being virtual. Um, and really for that, the biggest thing is you want someone that can be a self-starter, someone that is motivated, that they can do it on their own, because you're not going to have your eyes on them, right, all of the time. So really just making sure that you're looking for, figuring out, okay, what is the exact position that I'm looking to hire for? And what type of person am I looking for? It could be a, office support, a virtual assistant for you. That's important too, right? Maybe you need someone to help with some of those things as well. Some of the administrative tasks that you have to do. So just kind of keep an open mind as to what we're looking for in identifying new team members too, but community is huge. Okay. So at Inspired Hygiene, wanted to share a resource here for you guys, the QR code on the bottom. It's going to bring you to our new and improved, amazing website. So want you guys just to kind of take a peek there. But on the website, you're going to fill out a quick form and you're going to have access to this 17 tips to attract a hygienist to your office. So super, super beneficial. Wanted to share that with you all. On there, it's going to talk about, different strategies. So your listing strategy, less is more. You really don't want to be too wordy, right? To have too much text that's in the body of your ad. Bullet points are usually good, right? Straight and to the point. Wanted to share with you that LinkedIn actually did a report. They did some statistics and they found this to be true. Less is more. They had, on average, about 8.5% more applicants per view than the average ad because of the size. So they said stick to 150 words or less, and that's really going to get you the most attention and the most candidates for your position. People look at your ad more on LinkedIn specifically if it's 150 words or less. So good little tip to share there too, and that's what they found on their platform. You want to make sure, because we only have 150 words, don't waste a lot of that space on some of the duties that that candidate already knows. So for example, if you are looking to hire a hygienist, you don't have to list the specific tasks that they need to scale or their education level or that they need to take radiographs. If they have a dental hygiene license, that works, right? We don't have to go into the specifics of that. So wanted just to make sure that you don't waste some of that valuable space on there. You want to also make sure that when you're posting your ad that you post it in multiple places. So wanted to get some input here from you guys, because this is also region specific depending on where you are located. But what different platforms have been successful for you all when you're posting your ads? Have you found success on LinkedIn or Facebook, or where are you guys finding good candidates now? So you can either unmute or stick that in the chat. Would love to hear what's worked well for you guys. Word of mouth. That's amazing, Laura. You have that community involvement. That's great. That's great. What about you, Dr. Cunningham? What's worked well for you and your team? Oh, looks like you are muted. Okay, while he unmutes, we'll keep on going here. Dr. Cunningham, if you want to unmute to share, we'd love to hear.
Sorry about that.
No,
I
it's
think
okay.
we're struggling right now. We need six, we have three regular, and we're using subs. And some of the subs were our former employees. I think they really want to have the freedom of deciding whether to work next week or not, you know. But we're, one of the, when you live within your office, you think you're the only thing that's having this problem, but everyone I know, all my colleagues, they're in Columbus. I think there are just so many dentists in Columbus that, uh, it's hard to grab one anymore.
Hmm.
And, I don't want to, I know, I don't know why. I mean, that's why I'm listening tonight to listen
Yeah.
to what I can learn.
Good. Well, you're in the right place. I think, definitely too is to look back where you found your great team members, right? How you found them. It could be word of mouth. It could be Facebook. It could be LinkedIn. It could be so many different places, right? But really revisiting what your ad looks like and make sure that it's going to entice people, and not put up barriers, right? I think one of the biggest challenges with placing a great ad and having that listing strategy is sometimes we put barriers up and we don't realize it. So we might say, the specific office hours. So we might say, looking for a great hygienist for Monday through Thursday from 7 to 5, and one Saturday a month. Some people don't want to work Saturdays, or some people can't get there at 7. So they automatically don't apply because we've kind of put that out there. So sometimes if, less is more, if we don't say our specific hours, we might get more people. And then if we are flexible and creative with office hours, that we can maybe hire 2 people for the same position that we're looking to fill, or different things like that, sometimes we can get more candidates from it. So, definitely look at your ad and see and ask your team, would this make you want to apply, right? So many different things that we can do. Another great option is to add a wow or a shock and awe page to your website, but not specifically for patients, but for team members. So you could create a separate page. It could not even be visible on your main website. It could just be something that's in the background, that you have the link to, and it could be pictures of your team in the community. It could be a little bit about your practice, different things that you're doing, what your philosophy or what your core values are, because then the ad can be a lot smaller and you can have a link that brings them to beautiful color pictures or videos or testimonials from your patients and your team. So just a different strategy to kind of look at it that way too. You want to also make sure when you're trying to attract a great team member that you are an employer that your team wants to brag about. So Laura, sounds like you guys have that, right? It's through word of mouth, which is awesome. You want your patients to brag about it too. Do your patients know that you're looking to hire? You might want to put something on your front desk that says, "Hey, we're looking for great team members. Do you know anyone?" Right? It's important for everyone to know. You think about all of the amazing people that walk through your door every single day. They may know someone as well too. That's how actually I got my first dental hygiene job. One of my family friends went to their dentist and asked if they were looking for a hygienist, and I applied. And they didn't have an ad or anything else. So that's how I got my first dental hygiene job. And that was just through communicating through a patient. So definitely just make sure everyone knows. The more people that know, the better. um, Again, just being flexible and creative with your work hours too is super important. It's great for your team members that you have now, and it's great for your future team members too. And the last, big thing is engagement. So, what is your involvement in your
Cole, are you hungry
community?
yet? Okay, it's ready.
What's your involvement in your community? Does your team volunteer at the local soup kitchens, or do you do a clothing or food drive in your practice? Really make sure that you are posting that on your website, you're getting it out on social media, because just like we need to have the mindset of always be hiring, um, future team members are out there and they're always looking too. They're trying to get great ideas for their current office or great ideas for their future dental home. So you want to make sure that you're always posting things out there, all of the amazing things that you're doing in the community, any CE that you're hosting, CE that you're attending. Make sure that you're putting that out there. Again, not just for your patients, but for your potential team members in the future too. If you're hosting a CE event, make sure you'd say that you're hiring, right? Display something out there. Have your current team members there. Maybe they can introduce the speaker or say what their position is and how long they've been with your practice and why they love working with you. Just different things like that as well can be super, super impactful. And I know on a past growth forum, we've talked about hosting at different dental schools or assisting or hygiene schools a happy hour or a lunch, or you could host a scholarship. I know there's so many out there, but hosting a lunch or a networking event is super important because really right now, especially for new grads, but really for everyone wants a mentor, right? Everyone wants someone that they can talk to, that they can have a conversation, ask for some support and guidance. Did an event before, called it Mentors and Martinis, and we had martinis and we had appetizers, and it worked out very, very well. Got a lot of associates and assistants and team members and stuff from that too. So sometimes it just takes a moment to step outside our everyday and what we're doing and be a little creative as to what we can do in our local community and what we can accomplish there. Awesome. Rachel put on here videos of your team on your page, sharing why they are, why they like working with you. That's super, super amazing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Want to make sure you guys get that QR code. So we're there too. And we'll share that resource later too on the follow-up because we're going to record this and send this to everybody after. So you have it. Talking about communicating with your team and your patients that there's a new provider. So this is one thing that Triani and I did this very often with new associates, with new hygienists, with new assistants, everybody from every single position in the office. So it's really, really important first when you find that hire and you have them come in, introduce them to your team. Don't just throw them out there. You want to really make sure that you start that team member and your current team off on the right foot and really have a good foundation to their working relationship together. So it might be a good idea and a great suggestion is to take the team out of the office or do an activity together with that new provider. It really helps. And it's a huge time well spent to build that relationship with your team. And it's just a great opportunity for them to build that trust within each other before they're physically in the office. You want to think after you've introduced them to the team, everyone's been able to kind of chat, break bread, right? Having lunch together or going out of the office to do something is super, super important. Talk to your team and talk to that new provider and say, okay, how are we going to introduce you to the patients? Let's talk about it. Are we going to send a message on our confirmation system, right? So Revenue Well, Weave, there's so many different ones that we can put out there for our confirmation systems. Are we going to put on social media, LinkedIn, the newspaper, and even have an open house? Especially if you have a new doctor in the office, super, super important to start that relationship off, right? And sometimes that's the easiest way is to just have a big open house. And it's a great time to celebrate with your team too, that you're growing or maybe there's a transition in your office. Maybe you have a provider that's been there for a while that is going to be going part-time and you have someone else coming on. There's so many different reasons, but being able to come together with your team and have an open house and really show off your office, right? And show off your team is a great thing to do. Driani, I know that you and I, a few months ago, right? We actually went to an open house of a former team member that we had worked with in the past. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about that event? It was they did a really, really good job.
Yeah, they actually did do an amazing job. And what was amazing about it is the fact that they had, team members that they worked with in the past that even came to this event and helped with like decorating. They helped with, putting up, setting up charcuterie boards and they were super involved. And that said a lot about the provider. So when all those new patients came in and they were coming in for this open house, they were like, oh, well, you have team members that have worked with you in the past. And it says a lot when they do that. It went really well for the doctor himself. It was good because the old provider was there, introducing the new provider. So the patients that were longtime patients felt a lot more comfortable because they were meeting the doctor on a different level.
Yeah, absolutely. And it says a lot to have, I'll say past team, right? To come to an event like that too. It shows a lot about who that person is. And um, I know all of the patients they were pretty impressed to see so many people that really cared and supported this provider. So thanks for sharing that, Gianni. That was it was a great event, and want to talk about that one. They did a really good job. But having the entire team and stuff there, and the team helped to do the whole event, right? It was very, very impressive. It was awesome. So, just think of different things that you could do with your team too, to do an open house. It could be that maybe you have some new providers. So maybe you don't do it by provider, but maybe you do an open house once a year just to kind of let everyone come in and say hi, and just be able to see the patients on a different level and let the team have some of that involvement too. So many different things that you can do there. So when you're chatting with your team, you can talk to them and say, okay, what are some potential challenges that we may have when communicating this with the patients? You want to make sure that, again, you're not putting up any barriers or have anything create, by certain things that we say, it can also lead people to think different things, right? To kind of put them in that negative mindset. So you really want to make sure that you're positive about it and letting your team have that relationship built already, by going out of the office or doing different things. They can speak themselves to the provider that's coming in, how great they are. If they've seen some of their work clinically, that also helps too, right? Our team members are also our best advertisements, right? Being able to say, you know what, that hygienist, oh my gosh, she was so thorough. She did an amazing job. Her did an wonderful with her oral cancer screening. She was so gentle, so efficient. I really enjoyed, my time with her when she was, when I had my visit with her. So just so many different things that you can do there too. So when you're talking with your team, you want to make sure that you can all come up with phrases and make it feel comfortable to the team, right? You don't want to have specific scripts of what they have to say because you want it to be meaningful from them. So just, talk about it and say, okay, let's, share some of our experiences about maybe what in the past hasn't worked or what has worked really well. Let's recreate those things, and just really get your team involved in that too. Okay. So talking about, communicating this with different patients, wanted to share with you some phrases during a transition that can be very, very helpful. So one that I like, we're going to use Dr. Johnson and Dr. Smith here for an example. Dr. Johnson has trained Dr. Smith on our office protocols, and we review all of the patient charts every day to make sure that this is a smooth transition, right? It could also be additions to our team are very carefully evaluated to ensure that they're the right fit, right? We don't want just anyone coming in. So just some phrases that can definitely help during that transition, just to keep everything positive and to also reassure the patients. One common thing that comes up, and I'm sure that we have all heard this at least one time in our careers, is when we have a new provider in our office, sometimes there's patients that just say, you know what, I don't want to see anyone new, so I'm just going to transfer my record somewhere else. That doesn't really make sense though, does it? Because if they would rather, they don't want to see someone else, but they're going to go somewhere else to see someone else, right? So wanted just to share something with you guys. A way to communicate that is just to tell them, we would be truly sad to see you go. We have carefully chosen them with you in mind. Just give them a chance. Before you make any decisions, just give them a chance, and then we can talk after. Because if we say it that way, right, because we would be truly sad to see them go, especially if they're an amazing patient, right? It just gives them a little bit more reassurance instead of saying, no, if you don't like them after your visit, then we'll transfer your records, right? That just makes their head go in a negative mindset. So just saying something, we have chosen this provider with you in mind, and just give them a chance before you make that decision. Completely different way of saying that there. So that's definitely a big one that comes up often. I know Kelly, Laura, you guys have probably had that come up many times before. Yes. So want to just be reassuring to the patients there too.
Yeah. No, and I think that, with these phrases, I think it's really good to talk about it with your team, like set some time aside so that you guys are all communicating the same way, because it really says a lot when the team is all saying the same thing from the clinical to to the front. It makes it a lot easier for patients to understand that when they're hearing it more than once. So if you set that time aside and you go over things that you may want to say and asking your team, like, hey, what are things that maybe your patients might like to hear? Because they know the patients sometimes better than the doctor knows the patients, right? Like if the hygienist is with them longer. So it's always good to just have that conversation with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Okay. So the next thing when you're communicating with your team, right, you want to make sure that during this time of transition, even more so than normal, we always want to be transparent and positive with our team, but even being more transparent, intentionally transparent at this point is really, really important. We want to make sure that, the team knows how hard that we are working to find new team members, or how hard, that we have them in mind. That's why we're taking more time to make sure that we find the right person, because we all know hiring right now is very challenging. So we want the team to be aware that, yes, we're working towards that. Do they know anyone, right? We don't want them just to think that we're not actively looking for anyone either, right? Because being short-staffed can result in burnout. We know that, right? Everyone is trying to help. Everyone's pitching in. We want them to know how much we appreciate everything that they're doing, and to really be proactive and ask them for their input. There could be some daily tasks that they're working on that they sit back and they go, you know what? Someone else could do this. Or maybe this is something that could be outsourced. Maybe we could have a team member virtually working on some of these things. So an example of that could be insurance eligibility, right? Or confirmations. If we do not have a patient communication or confirmation system, that definitely is something that we should look into, because that's going to free up some of our time to be able to have our team in office be able to focus on the team member that are in front of them too. With that, we want to make sure that our team knows that we're always there and we're always listening. And when something does come up and they offer input, that we are addressing those things timely, that we're not waiting on those things, that we are there to support them, that we are there to help them in any way. And the biggest thing, and this is a huge thing that I know when I came on board with the Inspired Hygiene team, especially for me, but huge thing for everyone, regardless of what team, regardless of what company you work for, what industry you're in, it is so important to ask your team, is there anything I can do to support you today? That's it. And just let them answer. And it could be nothing, but just the fact that you have asked them if there's anything that you personally can do to support them today just means so much, especially if they've had a rough day, right? If they've had a challenging patient at the end of the day or right before lunch, or they're running behind. There's so many different things that can come up. We all know that. So just make sure that you are asking your team if there's anything that you personally can do to support them. And if they ask for support, make sure you follow through, right? And just be there to help with anything. Awesome. Has anyone had anything that has come up in their office when, they've talked to their team and they've said, okay, is there anything that we can do that a physical team member in office doesn't have to do, right? Is there something that we could outsource and that they've been able to do that successfully? Anyone out there? No, everyone's quiet.
Well, I
So,
think, one thing that might be super helpful, and, I've done this in the past where I've had team members, because sometimes team members think that they can do it all, right? So I've had team members say, I'm super overwhelmed, I'm being overworked, this is what's happening, I can't really find myself to get organized. But then you ask them, okay, so let's just write it down. Let's talk about it. Write down everything it is that you do, and then we'll try to figure out whether it's something that we can delegate, or whether it's something that's only for you, or is maybe there's something that we can do to help you so that you don't have to do that anymore. So that's a little helpful too, because sometimes they don't even realize that they need help until you ask or you tell them, like, let's just go through the exercise of what it is that you actually do.
right, write down your massive list of tasks that you
Yeah.
do every single day and figure out who else can help you with them, right? And I encourage you not just to have your team do that, do it for yourself, right? Do it for yourself too, and to see what else that you can delegate to. So speaking of utilizing our team, let's talk about how we can utilize our team. So one of the things that we do at Inspired Hygiene is really help with scheduling efficiency. That's a huge one. So we really help our clients to create and maintain their priority care blocks. So those are set aside for their new patients and their perio patients. This is a huge thing that can help with some of the staffing problems in the office, right? Making sure that we are upholding the priority care blocks that we have already put in place. So that way we know where to put, where we know where to put the specific patients. Super, super important there. We also want to make sure, excuse me, when we're looking at the schedule, that we don't have those, 10-minute 10-minute little appointments, or the 20-minute little appointments. We call them the dangling 10, dangling 20s, right? Of all those appointments that we really can't put anybody in there. We cannot service patients during a little 10-minute block. So really making sure that we are scheduling efficiently so we can see all the patients that we need to, and that our team can make sure that they're able to treat those patients. Having efficient team meetings and huddles. Oh my goodness, how important is that? Your huddle in the morning is really, it's very, very important, but think about it. It is like your office is like an orchestra. And every morning, you have to sit down, you have every department. So you have, your hygienists, your assistants, your admins, you have you have your percussion, your strings, and your horns, right? You have you have everybody there, and you are the conductor of that orchestra. So you need to hear from everyone what we need, what we don't. You might need a little less percussion this day. You might need a little bit more that day. So really talking to your team to understand, okay, what's going to happen in the schedule today? Is there any patients that need to be seen? Are there any emergency patients? Where can we put emergency patients? If we have a patient that comes in that needs scaling and root planing today, when's our next available appointment, right? Just being able to talk through some of those things, or saying, you know what, the last time this patient was in, we kind of put them on watch for scaling and root planing. This is someone that we definitely need to talk about today. And just being prepared for that is so, so important. Just making sure that we are all talking together and we're talking the same language and we can support each other throughout the day. We also want to make sure that we are reviewing and revisiting office protocols, making sure that we're not cutting any corners, that there's nothing that is potentially affecting patient care, right? Especially if we're having staffing challenges in the office, there could be things that we don't even realize aren't getting done until they don't get done, right? And then something happens. It could be, changing the traps, or doing all these different maintenance things in the office that, oh, someone else used to do that, right? So really communicating with your team and talking about those office protocols to make sure that everything is getting done, so you don't have an emergency that shuts you down. That's the last thing that you want throughout the day. And here, when we talk about virtual support, we kind of chatted about this a little bit earlier, but there's so many different things now that we can automate, that does not affect patient care and really allows our team to focus on the patient that's physically in front of them if they're in the office. So as simple as a patient confirmation, a system that can electronically update medical history and dental history and can put that into your practice management system. Super, super efficient to have the patient be able to do that at home prior to coming into the office. And really making sure that that gets into the practice management system, right? So looking at your workflows, it's not just, hey, we got the email that someone updated it, because then we have to scan it and put it in. So really making sure that everything is working seamlessly. You might decide that you need an answering service to be able to answer the phones and really route them in the right direction, and help just to save some of that time from team members in your office. Helping with eligibility too. There's so many different things that you could utilize. So again, if you make that list that Giuliani was talking about, you can kind of figure out where you can support the team through a virtual support team as well. You want to make sure that you're celebrating your team wins. That's so, so important. Don't forget about the team that you have in place at the office. They're the ones that are going to be with you, rolling up their sleeves, right? Making sure that everything gets done throughout the day, and they're supporting all your patients and seeing everyone there. So make sure that you're planning those outings, that you're celebrating all of those crazy different days that are out there. National Coffee Day. It was just National Ice Cream Day over the weekend. If anyone celebrated that, make sure that you're posting that on social media, that you're posting that out there. It could be something as little as knowing your team favorites. So one thing that I have done in the past that has worked very well for me is I had a little questionnaire that I sent out to the entire team, asking them, what is their favorite animal? What is their favorite flower? What is their favorite color? I had a team member that their favorite animal was a frog. And I had a little cheat sheet of everyone's favorites with me everywhere, and saw there was a frog card at Target. Got it and just kept it until they did something extraordinary, or it was just a random day and I wanted to write them a little handwritten note to give them, and it had their favorite animal on it, right? Just something little and meaningful for them. So it doesn't have to be anything crazy, right? It doesn't always have to be you spending, a lot of money or anything like that. It could just be as simple as a handwritten card with a frog on the front. I know, Driani, we did custom cupcakes before. Was one thing that you want to chat about that too. That was a fun thing that we did with the team member.
Yeah, this was actually really funny. We had a team member who always had these things that she always said. She didn't realize she was saying them all the time. So for her birthday, we ended up getting her little cupcakes and had these her phrases, her most used phrases throughout the day that that she would say all the time. And so when she saw it, she's a very emotional person. So she started crying, but she was like, "Oh my goodness, I can't even believe that I say this so often." She's like, "I didn't know you guys knew me this well. I didn't know you guys really listened to me," so it meant a lot to her. So doing things like that just means way more than sometimes just doing, giving a bonus, or, doing a big lunch and just like a pizza party. It's more personalized things mean more to the team, and also builds up the culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Showing that you care, right? So just, putting something as simple as bomb.com on top of a cupcake. Like, who knew that could have been something that, that awesome. So just really think outside of the box and be creative with your team, because team members, the stuff that they come up with is absolutely amazing. They are so creative, whether it's they're doing things with Cricut or they have all these side businesses of all these different things that they do. Really get to know your team and get to understand what they like, and what they dislike, and what you can do, just to make them feel special too. So another thing that you can do to help to utilize your team is also do team or assisted hygiene. So this is something you really want to make sure, you're changing the mindset of your team members, making sure that your entire team is aligned with this. We're actually having a boot camp coming out for those of you that know our Perio Protocol online boot camp. Inspired Hygiene is going to have a team hygiene boot camp. It's going to be coming out in the winter. And we're super excited about it because it's really going to help teams to change that mindset and understand, sometimes when we say assisted hygiene, people think accelerated hygiene, like we're going to see double the amount of people in the same amount of time. That doesn't work, right? We all know that that doesn't work. So with the team hygiene approach, it really helps to give the patients that next level of care, and optimize the care, and also be more efficient with the team members that we have, and really help to use the team members' skills and their strengths, to the best of our abilities, as leaders in the practice too. So super excited for that, and stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for more in the future there. So with that, we want to hear from you guys. So share with us. You guys can unmute, share with your experience. If you guys have any questions, let us know, like, what have you found successful in finding new team members? I know Dr. Cunningham, we were talking about it a little bit there too. Going to offer you some support there. And then Laura, you found team members through word of mouth, but would love to hear from you guys, any questions or what we can do to help to support you as well.
I'll share some hope. I think I was just in an office in Michigan, and they have two brand new exceptional team members. They both, the first hygienist, he came from a corporate office, and he came to their office. It was closer to where he lived. And the second team member shortly after came from a corporate office. So hopefully that gives people hope. And they are, they were so sad when when their other team members put in their notice. And I said, in 6 months, you're going to look back, hopefully, and be like so thrilled. And it's literally the first week that they're there, and they're so excited. So it's been a great thing for their office.
That's awesome. And they got to meet you on their first week there
Yes.
too, Kelly,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I mean, what could be better?
I think that does give us a lot of hope though, too. That's awesome. That's great. And I know we've had a lot of clients, especially more recently, that, we're looking for a lot of team members and now are fully to where, their team is full. They're exactly where they wanted to be. So there is hope, what we're seeing, right? There's hope on the horizon. That there are a lot more dental professionals that are coming out there, and hopefully using some of the tips from today too can definitely help to find those team members. They are out there. They are out there. So one other question I wanted to ask of you guys here too is, is there anything when you guys have welcomed new providers to your office that has really worked well that you want to recreate again? Any things that have really made the experience exceptional, not just for the provider, but also for your team and your patients too? Whether it was a hygienist or admin team member or doctor, anything like that has worked out really well.
I've seen some offices that have a fun ambassador. So it's a person, and you can spot them easily. Those that like to decorate and like to, bring in goodies, and they'll find out about new team members and just make it special for them and have a little party or have something special for them. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And it's a great way to utilize the team that you have, right? Fun ambassador. That's fantastic. I know one of the pictures actually of one of our clients from earlier, um, they know everyone's favorites. So if it is one of the team members, her favorite thing is decorating with lemons, right? Her whole kitchen is lemons. The whole thing is lemon themed. So for her birthday, everything was lemon themed. That's what they did. They had, lemon decorations, a lemon cake, everything. So there's so many different things that you can do when you have that team member that can help to support you with that too, right? Finding that person that can even help with your social media, right? Like you are the official team photographer, just so many different things that you can do to utilize your team there. And that's
Hey,
awesome.
Jennifer, this is Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
Hey. So I will say, just kind of going on Laura's comment here, right? The new provider telling the patient how excited they are to be on the team. One
Mhm.
thing that I found that really helped when I was a new provider or I was a fill-in is assuring the patient that I had reviewed their chart in detail. And if I had had any communication with the other hygienist, maybe we met for a few minutes about their, that patient, then I would let them know that. So,
Mhm.
I've spent a lot of time going through your chart. I've talked with Mary Catherine and she let me know about these preferences that you have. And I'm really looking forward to this being a great experience for you. So that from the new provider, and sometimes, it takes a little courage to do that, but it really helps put people at ease. And then on the other side of it, if you're the established, whether you're the practice administrator, the owner, or a team member, is just constantly building up your teammates and the doctor. So we had somebody that posted, maybe it was a question from a client or somewhere on our social media. I can't remember exactly where it came through, but it was about, we have this new doctor on our team and we really like him and we think it's going to be a good addition, but the patients are a little slow, to adopt this new provider. And it's really about, the other more senior doctor really has to be intentional about that too. Like
Yes.
going in and making the introductions, really building them up, talking about how, they've done this and that continuing education, or they've spent a lot of time together, really, getting calibrated and making sure that, that doctor feels supported and they can really, be the best for those patients. Just build them up. And then if I was dismissing a patient and walking them to the administrative desk and one of the other hygienists walked by, that maybe that patient had not had a chance to meet yet, I would always say, hey, I want you to meet Susan. She's fantastic. And, you might see her in the future and you'll just love her. So just always being proactive with that is helpful. It's going to lessen the need for you to have to do damage control. If, for example, the patient shows up and they're seeing somebody else, they at least will be familiar. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I know that we have clients too, which this is a different mindset, right? Is that they don't see the same hygienist every time they come to the office. They just see whoever the next patient is that shows up, that's who they see. So they really prepare everything in the morning. Everyone knows, who's doing what. They know all about that patient. So that also helps if that's something that would work in your practice too. And that is definitely a mindset change, right? Because we all know there's certain patients that they're like, this is it. This is a Laura only patient, right? That only Laura can see this patient. But there's so many different things that you can do with that. But that's one of the things that definitely helps with some of that transition too, if they're always used to seeing every amazing team member, so absolutely.
I want to share a couple resources too. Just make sure you guys all know on our new website, if you go to inspiredhygiene.com and you click on resource guide, there's a drop down there and there are a ton of different resources there. And the one specifically, you mentioned one earlier, Jennifer, and I missed which specific resource you were referring to. So
Yeah.
forgive
The
me if
17
I'm
tips.
repeating.
Yeah, no, you're
So
good.
that one's great. Yeah, the 17 tips. And then also the guest hygienist guide. So if you do have hygienists that are filling in your practice, I would encourage you to take a look at that And even if you don't use the whole thing, it'll give you at least some ideas of how could we better set this up so that that hygienist is successful, the patients feel supported, you know, the team understands that this hygienist is going to do their best to, you know, be consistent, but just it's all about communication. So all of it is communication. I think it's very relevant to what you're talking about this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And especially with, with the guest hygienist too, that could be a future team member. And if they have a great experience, even if they're not looking for a position, they may know someone that is looking for a new dental home too.
Absolutely. That's
So
right. That's right.
yeah, you want to make sure, give them the grand tour, right? Show them everything, make sure that they're comfortable, ask them to get there even a half hour early, right? Pay them to be there a half hour early. That's going to be time well spent to sit down and say, okay, let's go through everything. Want you to know, where the instruments are, how to log into the computer system. Just spending that extra, really small amount of time and having someone, you could have a welcome ambassador that does that and shows them and gives them the grand tour and everything there too. Oh my goodness, you would be amazed at what that means to someone, especially if they are guest hygienists or guest team members in all other offices. It really makes you stand out. It absolutely
You know
makes you.
what? Yeah, that's that's a really powerful point. And I had not really thought about that from the standpoint of, you know, even if they're not interested in taking a permanent position, they know people who are looking.
Mhm.
And, you know, so think about, you know, just like your patients and you want to make a really great impression because they're going to talk in the community and give you a review. A guest hygienist or a guest team member could easily go on Google and give you a review. So, what are they going to say, right, about their experience in your practice? So, and even if they don't post a public review, they're talking in their groups and things like that. And if they said, "Man, I was blown away by,
Mhm.
you know, Worthington Dental this week. They were just prepared. Everybody was super helpful. You know, the patients, you know, were great. Like, if anybody's looking." I know they're looking for a hygienist. If anybody's interested, I would encourage you to reach out to them. You just never know.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really great point, Jennifer.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of the platforms too that you are going to find these guest team members on are very similar to Uber. If you've ever used Uber before, you can leave a review of that driver, right? Of that office, and the office never sees it, but everyone else in the platform can. So if there's other guest team members that are out there that are even looking to fill your future positions, they may see that. Or if they're a guest team member and they see that you have an ad, they may go on to that application, onto that app, and look at the reviews that you have already. So just always be super welcoming, be exactly how you are with your awesome team already, and just make sure that you are just being there, being supportive of everyone, being super welcoming. It's going to go a long way. Definitely time well spent.